How to rewire the ivory tower? That is the question here. There are certain drivers in the digital university, its development and the evolution of open science. So in this talk, I will briefly talk about some of these drivers, introduce them, and present some ways that open science is actually a viable option for young researchers now, and how you can actually participate in it. The transformation of university already started some time ago. I just stumbled over a quote from Nabokov in The Real Life of Sebastian Knight, with the idea that the ivory tower cannot be suffered unless it is transformed into a lighthouse or a broadcasting station. So in the 70s, the idea was already present that the way university was running is not the optimal way, that actually due to all these changes at the moment that are happening, the demand for knowledge has grown. On the other hand, in this journal of, in this book of Nabokov, it's actually, there are certain irony signals here as well. The quote is to some character called Goodman, who is a bit shady, but the idea is not refuted there as well. At this time still, especially for Nabokov, the lighthouse, the idea of a broadcasting station, was seen in opposition to this kind of ivory tower where undisturbed thinking might take place. Now, digital tools are already present in university. It is not only possible to connect people down with the flu to a conference far away. It is also very normal for people on Twitter to follow and to share something. Researchers take their Facebook accounts with them into universities. And of course, editing text in Word and in other programs is quite normal. So digital tools, one could say, the digital university in its first incarnation is already there. It's present in all stages of knowledge production, and it usually does not get any credit. With this introduction of digital tools, a new development starts in universities as well. Going digital means less control in any case. There are actually three main drivers here, which are identified in the nice book of Michael Seemann, the strategies for the loss of control. First, there's the datafication of everything. So projects like Google Books, but also the omnipresent smartphones actually contribute to a development where what we talk about, what we see, also scientific content, is transformed into data, increasingly so. So even if a university or a scholar does not want to participate in this digital change, the drivers are already there to make it happen, even if it's just a student taking a scan of a book and sharing it online. This leads to the second driver here. It's like the widespread use of copying. The internet is actually a huge copy machine, so multiplication and storage is easy. And thanks to the third driver, the query, this kind of data is actually connected and presented in new ways. So even if you did not intend your publication to be presented somewhere on the web, actually anyone now with these tools can multiply it, but also set it into a new context. Thanks to the power of the query, like you have in search engines of Google and also increasingly the semantic web, this datafication opens the scientific knowledge to new context, to new interpretation. However, at the moment, this development is still driven not very actively by universities, and it is something that happens and which is more in the hand of commercial companies, because there are still much more chances for the development of open science than are currently used. With the new technology, old habits are still in place, which will riddle the university life for some time. It is restrictive licenses, which are still very common. very restrictive IP laws as well, that especially in the realm of open culture prevent cultural works to be shared or remixed for quite a time. Then there's also a kind of culture of anxiety in universities that makes it especially difficult for young researchers to try something new. And lastly, the research data is not reusable very well. So these are just some talking points here, which is just an environment at the moment in the university that still hinders the development of open science, but also to actually help science to reach as much people as possible and to find new innovation. At the same time, scientific information, grounded information, valuable and proved information is in high demand in this knowledge society. So it is tied, increasingly tied to social status, that you know the right things. It is helpful for decision making in a society that is changing very quickly. By the way, as I can observe, when you want to know what is the best treatment for a flu, it can also be very helpful to get some actual scientific knowledge and or from a medical journal and not from your nearest pharmacy which wants to sell you something. So it is important for skill building to have access to tools that someone is actually telling you how to deal with Word or with Gephi or with a visualization suite, or how to actually learn a foreign language, and also how to obtain new knowledge. And also it is common to have kind of scientific knowledge or academic knowledge framed in the terms of infotainment, that people like it for just for entertainment purposes. So while academics complain about the popularization of science, that science is opening to more popular forms of distribution, what is happening at the same time is the scientification of society. So that scientific knowledge and what the universities have to offer, what scholars have to offer, is becoming more and more important. This actually connects to the history of open science. I can really recommend the Stanford economist Paul David. He has a nice write-up about the tradition of open science. And the interesting part for me was it did not happen by itself. The norms of university life are not enough to promote open science. The new technologies are not enough. It was actually, from the history of open science, a structure of incentives from patrons and institutions to support a culture of sharing. So it were the open science norms and institutions that we see so beneficial for society and for university. They are social innovation. And they must be recreated as social facts, otherwise they do not exist, or the development is actually tied to commercial actors like Facebook and Twitter and so on, or ResearchGate for that matter. So what is open science actually? Under the label of open science now, today, we subsume strategies and practices to make all stages of the research, so the data capturing, the dissemination, also the teaching, accessible to all levels of an inquiring society, amateur or professional, and also commercial or non-commercial. It doesn't matter for open science if it is actually used in a private context, in an academic context, or maybe also someone, an inventor, trying to find out why a certain machine works. So actually in the time of the Industrial Revolution, it could also be ascribed to an overflow of knowledge. People were very well informed about why things worked, and so it was an open field for inventors to find new ways to apply these techniques and this scientific output to develop new tools and new machinery. For open science now, we identified certain areas. It's open educational resources. You might have stumbled across them already. The open access, of course, which is in the realm of publications. The open peer review, which is just a new way of organizing peer review, make it more transparent. Same with open methodology. Open source is already actually used very quietly by researchers once they use open source tools for their research, and usually they're very happy to do so because the community helps to raise the quality of whatever is shared. This is also an effect of open data. Once scientific data is shared, people can check it easier, and it's actually good for the quality of the whole system. Not every version of open is really open to everyone. As the Open Knowledge Foundation, we connect our open science activities to the open definition, which actually posits that open data and content can be freely used, modified, and shared for any purpose. This is just important to remember when you stumble over some open offers from certain publishers. They would try to label it open, and although they would not be not allow it to actually be reused in a commercial context or shared very widely. So this is why it is important to continually evaluate the offers of open and the definition here, entitled for this. Speaking of the incentives for the evolution, what is driving it, we actually have two different levels. So there's the institutional levels, who actually, they want to promote a culture of innovation. It's actually good for university life, but also in bigger institutions like the European Union. Open science is regarded as beneficial because of its economic benefits, and also for universities, for the reputation of the universities. So in a way, the incentives for open science are actually quite similar to what we have in the Middle Ages, or what actually Paul David identified as the drivers in the Middle Ages. And it's still looking out for some economic gain, for some development of society, but also for some reputation on the levels of the institutions. So when a university or a bigger institution actually fosters open science, there would be some return on it. On the level of academics, of course, the first driver would be altruism. That is actually nice to share something, to be read by others, and to participate with the things that you do in a wider context, but also gaining some new skills. Opening your research to open science very often also involves blogging and sharing in new media. So it's also part of skill building, and these skills can be demonstrated by actually sharing it on the internet. Also, it's easier to collaborate with other scientists if you're working at an institute and you have colleagues in different institutes in different countries. They can actually access your data and access your publications, so it's easier to get in touch without having to wait for 6 weeks until the distant order from the library actually arrives. The two other drivers are actually, I think, quite more imminent. It's actually the recognition for the academics, that when you share something, it's easier for people to discover you and to recognize what you have done, also outside of academia. My personal way was, after finishing my PhD in German literature, I moved to a publishing house, and it was very interesting to see that in the talks of following the application, of course, people Googled me. And the things, my online presence suddenly was much more important than the closed access articles that I had given and who had only been read by maybe 20 people. So blogging, sharing your research, sharing your data is also a nice way of opening other doors to work in. So my personal suggestion about a driver of open science is the simple fact that, at least in Germany, that was like the last study of 2009, 90% of PhDs leave academia and work somewhere else at a different nice thing. So faced with options like this, that most young scientists will probably find something else that they want to do later, it's actually a nice incentive to think about sharing your work and opening other doors by actually presenting what you have done. And a nice way to do this is still the possibilities of open science to open your data and share your research. Sorry, I hope I didn't shock you with these numbers. Becoming visible with ideas is actually maybe a bit of personal branding here, sharing ideas and data. It does not only mean to broadcast something, to give out something. It also means getting feedback and inspiration by the crowd, acquiring digital skills and also connecting to a larger audience, which might actually contribute something to the way you work or how you can or improve on that. So one idea is, of course, most of you would be familiar with Twitter, but there are also blogging platforms, and I would subsume it under public relation work that you as a scientist can actually do in advance. As I said, to connect with an audience than just to broadcast something. A nice platform here is the Hypothesis blogging platform, who is actually funded by the Max Weber Stiftung, and it's supporting researchers in the humanities and social sciences to set up a blog and to run the blog. So they would also promote the content that is there, and it's a nice format for young researchers to actually, and researchers of all stages, to present what they do and just to open the windows a bit to their studies. Even for institutions, open access and open science can make sense. One example is the Language Science Press it's a Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft funded project, and it's actually a series of linguistic books. It's a book project, and it's like a little publishing house inside the university. So the Language Science Press would present high-quality, peer-reviewed open access books in linguistics, and they started 15 series, and they combine like 162 editorial board members. Introducing editorial board members into an open access publishing venue is a wonderful thing to just also present the quality, raise the quality of the content, and just to guarantee that open access also means high quality scholarly work. So far they accepted 20 books and already published 6 publications. You can look them up on the website of the Language Science Press. But what happened then? Other than in the analog medium, they also got some feedback. Thankfully, they put it on GitHub. On average, they get about 600 downloads for every book per month, and these numbers are actually rising. So they, even in the short period of time since they started, they already have a wider reach than comparable publishers could do with a more traditional venue. So here they actually combine cost saving, of course, for this publishing for the researchers with new ways of visibility. Everyone can download the book and fact check them, and also people do not need an Access library account to actually access it. It's all under Creative Commons license. Sharing research data is another venue where you can actually gain much more traction and make it more reusable. This is an example for a little list that was quite hidden in the depth of some shelves about forbidden books in Nazi Germany. So the data portal of Berlin actually opened this list and presented it at our hackathon Coding Da Vinci. So this is the raw form of this data list. It is something like most researchers actually produce at some point, to actually making lists in Excel, I think, or so there already is this material. This material is already available, and it was not edited a lot, but just presented on the data portal, and then someone in the hackathon Coding Da Vinci, on the basis of this list, connected the names and the publications that were presented here to other sources like Wikidata and other venues. So I'll get back to it later. There's a wonderful website which was created out of it. It's called Verbrannte and Verbannte. burned and banished, so to speak. And it uses this data to make some interesting statistics and to connect the data to other sources. So for example, one of these diagrams that is automatically created there connects, just checks the author names for the length of the Wikipedia visits and the article length. So on the basis of this, of graphs like this, you can, researchers can see now where, which authors were underrepresented in this time. Another examples were some patterns of migration that were actually depicted on this website. So I would actually check it out. It's more than 20 analyses, and this website also gets more than 1,000 downloads a month. So out of this list is pretty a feed. If you want to participate to learn how to present data to a bigger audience, there is actually 2 good resources. The first one is the School of Data from Open Knowledge Foundation. There are some courses, some classes on how to work with data, how to present the data and make it present in such a way that others can work with it more easily, and also how to analyze this data. Further on in the field of digital humanities, you find the so-called DIRT list, or Digital Research Tools Wiki. The digital research tools are a wonderful resource just to get an idea how can you analyze data of others. But as a first step, I would just recommend sharing what you have on your blog, on your website, and or even better at a repository where it can be used by other scientists. Another way to participate in the development of open science is joining our working group. It's the Open Science Working Group. We have set up a mission statement, some newsletter, mailing lists, monthly calls. So just open science is also different in this way. It's a new quality that it's much more open to collaboration, to participation. And so tapping into a network of other open science enthusiasts is also helpful to widen your audience and get new impulses as well. Yeah, that was it from my side. For any questions, I will monitor the Twitter during the day, so feel free just to send a tweet or send an email. And now for the discussion, I think I will close the connection now for a time. And I hope if you have any questions, maybe we can just discuss now via Skype. So thanks for bearing with me and with this teleconference thing. Yeah, thank you.